Sean Roberts, great to have you on the channel, mate. Fantastic to see you. Ex-professional now, was a fantastic goalkeeper in his day, and now a very good agent as well, doing a lot of commercial deals all over South African football. Sean, great to have you on the channel, mate.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. That's a very, very cool intro. I really appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, cool, man. Let's start off straight away. I mean, what are you up to at the
Yeah.
moment?
Yeah, so I mean, we're just chatting off air, you know. We're chatting about the transition from players from playing to not playing, and the struggles that players have, not just footballers, sportsmen in general. And this is my 10th year now, having not played. Can you believe it? And it's only last year, really, that I've found my swing, my sort of natural flow back into the real world, I'd say. So it's been challenging, but it's cool. But yeah, so it's progressed now. So I do represent quite a few players within the PSL as their sort of agent or intermediary, as you want to call it, or manager. Um, and very grateful for lockdown because it's sort of pivoting more now to the commercial space in terms of where I bring emerging brands into Africa, and they all need brand awareness, and I sell them the dream through sports sponsorship. So, been quite a few deals that have been done already, which is pretty cool, and quite a few pending. So, which yeah, can't wait to share that with you guys as well.
Yeah, man, that's epic, man. How did you get into the agency game? I mean, a lot of footballers, it's like the what am I going to do after football? It's coaching, it's uh, yeah. But I mean, how did you get into the agency game?
Yeah, so 2014, I retired. My wife and I went traveling for a good few years, which was great. Came back and teamed up with my agent back in the day. Got to learn the way of what it is to be an agent. Unfortunately, got very burnt, and I just really looked at this and realized that I just want to be an agent that I never had, basically. So I know what guys want, and more specifically, I know what they don't want. I know the pressure points. I know, if they're going through injuries, God forbid. I mean, without a club, troubles at home. So it's not just doing the deal. It's more of, right, cool, pick up the phone. How can I assist? So I like to think that I'm a little bit different from the rest of the guys. I don't have hundreds of players like a lot of these agents, but it's more an intimate relationship, friendship, trust-based relationship that I have with my players.
Yeah, man. What about in your career? Did you have any bad experiences with agents? What led you to thinking you could do a better job than these
Yeah,
guys?
yeah. I mean, where do I start, Mike? Jeez. I mean, it's yeah. The answer's flat out yes. Unfortunately, that was the case. And speaking to my peers and ex-teammates and players when I was playing, they all went through the same thing, right? It's not like I was unique in this situation. It's a very, very cutthroat game. It's a very selfish sort of industry to be involved in. So maybe there's a part of me which is not really built for that, but I think the softer side of me is I'm geared towards assisting guys where they really need it. So yeah, and I think the big part of that is trying to get these guys to understand. So what is your second passion while you're playing? Because you really need to start honing on that because this game is not forever. Just like you're doing now, Mike, with this great platform. It's just a lot of guys will stop playing, think that life is just going to unfold and the easy money is going to carry on coming. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So a big part of my message to them is, right, cool, we're playing now, all good, but what is your second passion? And a good example of you look at Cole Alexander, he started doing his personal training a good few years ago, so he knows already where he's going to pivot as soon as he retires. So that's his passion, that's his second passion. Obviously, a great footballer, but yeah, I'm looking forward to see where he goes. So that's the sort of bigger message that I try to assist guys with, and obviously the brokering of the deal. As I said, the shoulder to cry on, whatever they need, I try to be there for them.
Yeah. So you enjoy, so you still do like where you full on managing players? Because I know a lot of agents are moving out of that full on management and just brokering deals where they maybe just getting deals over the line and not necessarily doing the day to day management of players, which I think can be a little bit easier because I think you can end up dealing with a lot of drama as well as as an agent dealing with footballers on the day to day.
Yeah, Mike, I think I'm honest, right? If there's something I cannot assist with, I'll let the player know. I'll let the guy know. And also, I realize in this game. as an agent or a manager that there is no loyalty from the players either. I've realized that the hard way as well. Like guys I've played with, friends, guys who've been to my wedding. It's like so. It's I help, I assist where I can, but I'm also very honest where I cannot assist. And I know, and I've also got boundaries in my business as well. So I'm not going to be taken advantage of either.
Yeah, but when I look at you, the way you've structured, obviously you're doing this other commercial stuff as well. That helps obviously keep the business going. But I see with a lot of the agents, and I wouldn't mention any names, but in South Africa, the reality is if you're going to be an agent in South Africa to make a decent living, you're going to need to have 50 to like I don't know
Yeah.
75 to 100 players to run like a good business where you're making good money, and then you sacrifice the service. Like, where do you find the balance
Yeah.
between like a big book of players and providing a good
Mm.
service?
So, Mike, I don't think there is one, to be honest. I don't think there is a balance. I think the bigger agents there, right, like you say, have 50, 70, 100 players, and they've got a great business. And but with that, the sacrifice is obviously the service to the players. So I don't have 50 players. I don't have 75 players. I've got a nice group of 15 or 16 guys that I like to think that I'm servicing well. And at the same time, really pushing on the other side, on the commercial side of the business, which is great because I'm mad about sports, I'm mad about people, and I enjoy brokering deals. So if I can just leverage all of that together and make some magic happen, it's you're never going to work a day in your life in my eyes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I wanted to ask you about the sort of so I think about this a lot with agents and players is and clubs is how do you balance your protecting your relationship with the club
Mm,
versus looking after your player? Because obviously in South Africa there's 16 clubs, and as an agent, can you really afford to burn bridges at certain clubs and then like risk not being able to do business with them again for the sake of protecting one player? Is it not easier for you to rather give the club the preference or the priority and then sort of burn a player because there'll always be another player? I think about that quite a lot. How do you look at that as an agent?
yeah, Mike. I mean, thankfully, I've never been in that position to be honest, but I can see how I can be. Hopefully not this transfer window, hopefully not in the future, but and I don't have the answer until I'm there, to be honest. I think again it comes down to honesty. I think as an ex-player, I think my relationships with the rights holders or with the clubs are far more better than other agents. And obviously, as an ex-player, my relationships with the players are far better than a lot of other agents. So I'd like to think there's open communication, honest communication. I think that's the word, honesty. I don't think there's enough honesty in this game, Mike, to be fair. So
Yeah,
as long as I'm always playing open cards with my guys and with the rights holders, the players, the CEOs we deal with, there shouldn't be an issue. But again, I haven't come
yeah,
across that just yet. Yeah.
yeah. And for now, guys, just the general public that are not familiar with the way that sort of agents and players work together, can you sort of give the guys a breakdown of how exactly you would earn an income off a player? And maybe if not the player, if you're taking your cut from the club, how does that all work?
Yeah, so things are changing now with this new FIFA regulation coming in. You've got to write this really, really difficult exam to pass, and there may be there may be commission caps which have been enforced, but they haven't been enforced yet. So there's a big hoo-ha overseas about um, because what the new regulations are saying that the player must pay the agent. I've never taken a cent off any player, to be honest. So what would happen if a player earned 100 rand a year, just for example, I would invoice the club 10 rand. So I'd get 10% of that, but I've never earned a cent off a player.
Yeah,
But
is
that
it
that
always ten
might that
percent?
might be
Is it
changing,
always
Mike.
10% though, or agents, not necessarily you, but are other agents taking more than 10% from clubs on deals?
I don't think they'll be taking, in my personal opinion, I don't think they'll be taking more than 10% from the clubs. I think they could be double dipping, in my opinion. An ex-agent tried to do that to me, so they'll get 10% from the club, and they'll still claim 10% from the player, and that's
Yeah,
you know,
that happened to me for
it,
that happened to me for 7 years.
yeah, no,
I won't mention
it's
the name, but
brutal.
yeah, they were charging me, and then I worked out subsequently that they were charging the club as well, which was always nice to learn.
Yeah, and that must be happening all the time. And I think that's why a lot of these guys are making a lot of money very quickly but there's also a lot of fly-by-night agents, and that's why I think these exams are good because you're going to get rid of a lot of the riffraff. Um, and there are some good agents in this country. Don't get me wrong, Mike. There's some good people in this game still, believe it or not. And I think that's probably one of the saddest things of me progressing from playing into sort of getting to understand the business around sports is that the people I used to look up to in the game, I've realized what kind of people they are, unfortunately, and it sort of put a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Because it is the business of football. It's beautiful, but it is ruthless, and it's obviously playing. We know it's very selfish. It's you've got to look after yourself, even though you're in a team environment. So I'm learning every day, and yeah, thoroughly enjoying it, to be honest.
Yeah. And do you rep any coaches?
Um, I wouldn't say I've got long-term contracts with coaches, but I certainly have mandates for coaches.
Yeah.
So how it would work, right? If a coach would give me a transfer window to try and move him, for example. So I'm not gonna, and I do that with players as well. I know a lot of agents like to lock players down in 2-year contracts. I'm usually quite fair. I'd say give me 2 months or give me 3 months to try and find you something. If I don't manage it, then obviously you're free to go. I'm not going to lock them down for 2 years if I can't find a job. So I usually get players to commit to me for a transfer window, whatever that looks like. So maybe from July to the end of August, so 8 weeks, and hopefully I can work my magic then.
Yeah. And then leads me to the question: what do you make of sort of agents then having when you're managing a coach, and then the conflict of like in the same team you're managing a bunch of players as well? I mean, I don't know if you've heard of any stories, but there's always those rumors as like, oh no, it's because he's this guy's agent is the same as the coach's agent, like that's why he's
Yeah,
playing. Like you hear that a lot.
yeah, and I'm sure it goes on, Mike, to be honest. You know what I mean? And I think there's a big strategic play for some agents, I would imagine, not just in the PSL but worldwide.
No, I mean there was all those
And you got to,
Mourinho stories where like Mourinho started bringing all the Portuguese guys into Real Madrid. Like I'm
yeah,
not necessarily saying it's like down to South
yeah,
Africa, but I mean I do think there's a conflict of interest there sometimes.
100%. There's such a gray line in this sport or this job. What's right, what's wrong, what's allowed, what's not. But again, Mike, if I just keep my head down and just concentrate on my game, what I'm supposed to do, and try to block out that noise, if I'm half a good agent, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Okay. Then stepping away more from the managing of players, I want to chat about more the commercial deals you're doing because you've done some massive stuff. You were heavily involved in the previous AFCON, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of stuff with the AFCON that nothing really materialized, unfortunately. I think the first deal that was done wasn't even football based, it was rugby based. So it was what we're passionate about, Mike, is the crypto stuff. So it was Luno and the Blue Bulls. So that's a very good example of aligning an emerging brand that wants to break into Africa that needs brand awareness. And they felt their target market was the sort of the rugby fraternity. We had various conversations from Springboks to even some PSL teams, but we settled with the Blue Bulls. That's already 2 years ago. Can you believe that? And so then the third year of their contract now. And then, yeah, the nice one was Tembet and Bafana Bafana. So that's coming more closer to home. A lot of people didn't realize that there was an opportunity for a betting company within SAFA. They thought everything was owned by Hollywood Bets, but that wasn't the case. So we managed to get that over the line, and then staying within the football space. Ikorka and Supersports United, that was 18 months ago on their sleeve. Again, a very good example of an emerging fintech brand that use sports for brand awareness. I still think that's the better way of marketing, in my opinion. And I can't. There has been another deal done with Safa, but I can't say anything just yet. I'm sure the next 2, 3 weeks we will go live with that, and then about 5 or 6 that are pending. So very cool, very exciting space. Again, it's it's more me of bringing two parties together, seeing what each party requires from each other, and managing people's expectations, and yeah, just bringing sports and people together. It's the best.
Yeah, it looks like almost the floodgates have opened because obviously there was a lot of there was a lot of red tape with betting companies and sports teams, especially in the
Mm,
PSL for a while. They obviously blocked, I think it was Sports Pesa or something at Cape Town, and then John took that a little bit further,
yeah.
and now all of a sudden that they've got the green light. It seems like the betting companies are coming in big and strong now, obviously with Betway Premiership. Um, that deal that just went through. I don't know if you had your ear to the ground. Can you tell us a bit more details about sort of that Betway deal? And
Yeah, I mean, what I'm still not sure, because I've heard contrasting reports, is that, in my opinion, surely Betway have blocked off all other teams now to be sponsored by betting companies. That's how I would
oh,
have
really?
understood it. But I've
Wow.
been told that that's not the case. But I don't think I don't think a company would pay 900 million rand over 3 to 5 years and not have exclusivity. So I need
So
to
don't
unpack it a
Pirates
little bit.
have super sport bets already, or did you think they locked those in before Betway came in?
Yeah, look at if we look at Golden Arrows, they've got 10 bet, right, as well. So now that they've locked them in, they wouldn't be affected. But again, I'm not too sure. I would imagine Betway have exclusivity on the whole of the PSL. So if we look at you'll see no team is sponsored by a bank because you're not allowed to because of the Nedbank Cup. But
Sure.
I see John has got FNB, so I don't know. That's John again. He might have found a loophole. So I think once you sponsor the PSL, it sort of blocks off all the rest of the teams to get a partner that's associated with the same platform, I guess, which is not fair, I guess, because if you realistically look at the PSL, I think there's only 7 teams that have a sponsor, a front of shirt sponsor. It could even be less. I'm not too sure, but it's shocking. So I hope it's not exclusive to Betway. I think Betway pumping money into that amount of money into South African football is great for everybody. Would have liked to have brokered that deal, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But
10%
yeah,
on nine
that
hundred
would have,
million. Come on, Shauna,
yeah,
you could have hung up the boots even in the
jeez.
agency game. Could have been
No, man,
in Hawaii now.
that would have been epic. Um, but yeah, so I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm excited to see how they activate around that. The Betway guys are a good bunch of guys. So yeah, I mean they're throwing a lot of money into sports, especially in South Africa. So
Yeah. Do you think the
um,
PSL grants go up off the back of this?
one would think so, but I know they haven't. From what I've heard, they haven't gone up this year. Mike, I don't know. I don't know. One would hope so. I think. I think from position 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way down to 16, the clubs need the money, right? It's
Sure.
they're not all the Chiefs, they're not all the Pirates, they're not all the Sundowns where they've got this money to burn and spend some big bucks on some good players. We've seen Pirates now really come through and playing some good football, and for me, they're going to contend this year with Rulani
Yeah.
having left Sundowns. It'll be interesting to watch, but um, yeah, it's. I hope they don't have exclusivity, but I'll be shocked if they didn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You're chatting about jersey sponsors and stuff like that. Out of curiosity, what is the front of a jersey worth? Obviously, it's different per club, but I'm talking about for a Richards Bay, a TS Galaxy. What does the front of jersey cost for a club like that to a sponsor?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's worth what someone's willing to pay for it, eh? Like it's if you know what I mean. I mean, we can get all these BMI reports or these Nielsen reports, whatever. Um, Thumb suck, I would say anything from 13, but between 13 and 20 million, I reckon you're looking at a mid-tier range club. And obviously Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns, we're talking way, way above that, just in terms of the brands they are, exactly, if you know what I mean. But I think
Yeah,
from 15 million up, you're looking at a friends of shirt sponsor in the
yeah.
PSL.
Okay, there's good money
Which,
in it.
if activated yeah, it's good. So, which, if activated correctly around that, it's good for any sponsor and it's great for the club. So it's just attracting. And we just saw Richards Bay now get 100 million rand over 3 years from that consortium. That's interesting, man. Like that's such an interesting play, and I know they want to pump a lot of money into development as well. So hopefully that happens, and hopefully we'll see Richards Bay become one of the top 6 or top 5. That'll be great.
Yeah, it's be interesting to see how much effect the money has, and if managed properly, how quickly they can turn the corner with that kind with those kind of funds. The other thing I wanted to
Yeah.
chat to you about, and it's a bit of a pet peeve of mine in South African football with football contracts, is the option years on contracts. It's always been something that's blown my mind, and I don't know why footballers agree to it, and I don't know why agents put it in front of their players. Um, these things where it's like you have a 3-year contract with a +2 option, but it's the club's option. Like it's only in South
Yeah.
Africa where you see this. It doesn't really. I haven't really seen it around the world, but it's like we love that in South Africa, and I don't know why it's a part of our football.
Yeah, it's a weird one, Mike. It's a good point. It's a very, very good question. I think just to go back a bit, I think South Africa, the PSL, it's the only league that I'm aware of where the players are not the assets. Do you know what I mean? Like it's always the clubs that are being protected. It's I've got targeted before by standing up for my teammates at a certain club, and then you want your teammates to back you, and they're nowhere to be seen. So it's it's pretty
Talk twice,
sad.
Sean. Talk twice, Sean. Okay, Sean. Hey guys, where are you?
It's exactly what happened. It's brutal, man. Again,
Yeah,
the
I got
option
burnt
is
out
there
there
to
during
protect the
COVID
club.
at Amazulu. I was the spokesman for Amazulu. We were the only ones who got pay cuts, or one of the only teams that got pay cuts in the league. So then all the guys were like, "Come on, Mike, like speak to the management." So I was like the first like to go like knock on the door, and then I was the
Yeah.
first guy out the door at Amazulu after that.
Yeah, it's sad. We've got no voice as players. We've got a players' union, which I don't know what the players' union does or do, or they come and visit the clubs and they praise
Yeah,
themselves.
don't get
But
me started on the players'
yeah,
union.
yeah, it's hectic, man. So yeah, I think back to your question, the options are there to protect the club, right? It's definitely not there to protect the player. And again, it's the players unfortunately don't have a voice. It's sad, and you'll be shocked now at some of the salaries these guys are getting paid, especially at NFD level. It'll break your heart, and even at the PSL level, it's just
Don't worry, it's breaking my own
it's
heart,
not.
eh?
Yeah, it's yeah, it's hectic, Mike. It's Yeah, I mean that's why I'm grateful for this whole Betway deal. I think it's going to carry the PSL through for a good number of years. Interested to see what happens with this multi-choice and Canal Plus deals as well. So I don't know the ramifications around that, but again, we see the sale of these PSL clubs to non-football people. It's just it's
Yeah,
beyond a joke, and I don't know how they pass these certain criteria tests. But it's not okay, man.
yeah. Yeah, man, it's just like almost like I want to appeal to like players if they find themselves listening to this at some point, like the option, like just if you're gonna sign an option, like the club must let you know in January, like these options where they only have to notify you on like the 31st of June or something on the last day of your
It's mad.
contract, and then you've literally got
Yeah.
3 days to find a new club before the next season starts. Like I've seen it ruin so many careers.
No, it's brutal, hey. I've got two or three players now going through exactly that without jobs because you're sort of pending, you're hoping, you're waiting, you're relying on other people instead of yourself, which is the most frustrating thing in this game. You've got to rely on a lot of other people and non-football people, right? You've got these non-football people holding your life in their hands. It's just it's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah,
Yeah. If my son has a God-given talent to be a footballer, it's you've got to sort of really steer him in the right direction, I guess.
yeah. No, it's tough. People don't obviously see the reality and the behind the scenes stuff, but they
No,
obviously their eyes open wide when you say like I don't necessarily wish this journey on my own kids. Um, yeah, it's a bit of a negative way to look at it, but it is. It's definitely it's a roller coaster, and the good times are great, but
yeah,
yeah, the harsh times can break you. Eh?
yeah, and I think that's what to be transparent and honest. I think that's what I wouldn't say cost me my career, but I was certainly good enough to play in the Premier League, for example. I just mentally wasn't capable of dealing with the lows. And
Yeah,
that's, I know there's psychologists out there, which I did see, but that's something I was never taught, and that's something I could possibly give my son if he feels there's a future in football for him. The talent was certainly there for me. It's just possibly the maybe a bit of lack of self-belief, but certainly the highs was complete ecstasy, like days and days of just like I'm untouchable. But then you have a low, and it took me just as long to get out of the low. So that was as a goalkeeper, you need to be able to just to switch.
yeah,
That's the thing, yeah. So it's again great journey. Played all over the world, very blessed. Made a lot of mates. Good people involved in football as well. There are some very, very good people. there aren't a
Yeah,
lot of there are some very not good people as well, but there are some very, very good people, and we're
yeah,
getting paid for something we love, Mike. I mean, there's nothing better, eh?
yeah. No, there is nothing better. On the commercial side, this is something
Mm,
that's always sort of, especially now after like post Rugby World Cup. Obviously, see every Springbok on in that World Cup winning side has got a sponsored car now. They're all getting millions and millions of rands in brand deals and everything.
mm,
But when we look at our best footballers in South Africa, we don't see the same sort of, the brands don't have the same affiliation to our professional footballers in South Africa.
mm.
And when I look at the average, and I'm not talking about the Sia Khaleesi here or the Eben Etzebeth, I'm talking about the average Springbok doesn't have the same kind of reach that, say, Temba Zwane or Ronwen Williams would have. Why are the bigger brands choosing rather to go with the sort of the average Springbok over what I'd be like Ronwen, the best goalkeeper in Africa?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and it's something I've been pondering as well. And it wasn't always like this. I mean, if we go back 10 years, even the footballers had a, I wouldn't say bigger reach social media wise, but the sponsors were throwing themselves at them, you know. And I don't know what that switch is. I don't know what's happened. But you've got to also understand a club like Kaizer Chiefs, for example, you'll never see any of their players being personally sponsored by anything because they own their image rights. I think the same might happen for Pirates. I'm not too sure. So once you sign for Chiefs, you sign over your image rights. You saw what happened with Kune and that whole Denon debacle. I don't actually know what happened at the end of that, but I think he had to pay back a lot of money to Chiefs because they owned his image. So you basically selling your soul, you know. Now I think it might be happening at Pirates. I'm not 100% sure. But Sundowns is free reign. You're more than welcome to do what you want to do. But maybe it's not on the agent's radar. I try to push as much as I can with my players. But again, if you're not a massive, massive, massive name, it's not in it for the sponsors. I know the sponsors more towards like celebrity chefs or presenters more than footballers, for example. It's a weird one, Mike. I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah. No, it's frustrating because I look at, I'll just use Ronwen as an example. I'm looking at the guy, he's the best goalkeeper in Africa. He's South African captain. He ticks every box for a brand. For me, lives a
Mm,
clean life, family guy. But when you look at our rugby captain, he's got like, you look at his social media and he's got about 20 brands affiliated to him, getting paid left,
yeah.
right, and center by every brand under the sun just to do a social media post. And you look at Ronwin, and he might be doing his deals here and there, but it's definitely not the same. But then I look at the actual volume of people and in South Africans that follow Ronwin Williams. He speaks to a bigger demographic than say our rugby, than the rugby that might be a
Yeah.
minority sport in our country, whereas football speaks to the whole nation. I just don't know how brands are not looking at our main footballers, guys like Temba Zwane, and thinking that these guys could represent their brand.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there has been lessons learned from brands getting involved with certain footballers in the past as well. I don't think the footballers have done themselves any favors.
Sure.
We know how some of these guys are, bro.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
also we're talking about rugby, but we're talking about world champions, right? So we mustn't forget that we're world champions for the past, you know, 1,200 days
Yeah.
now, whatever it is, which is fantastic. So, yes, I know Ron would speak to a completely different demographic, and maybe it's something I should have a chat with him about. But obviously, the Springboks are world champions. It's probably a much easier sell. Um, Maybe a little bit sexier at the moment, but yeah, I mean but there's no shortage of sponsors within the PSL as well, and the teams. Obviously, the top 7, 8 teams that have sponsors. But it's yeah, maybe it's just not sexy enough, Mike. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird one,
Yeah,
but
no, I
I
mean,
do
I
think
actually did like a, I did a, I don't know, I did like a almost a side hustle project on like trying to, on like almost comparisons of social media followings across like different sports like rugby, cricket, soccer, and like I'll
mm,
like, so I looked at a guy like say Vincent Pule, who was at Orlando Pirates and I had Supersport. I mean, he's got more
yeah,
Instagram followers and more social media followers than most of our Springboks. Like his
yeah,
profile alone and the guys that follow him is massive. Like compared
yeah,
to,
yeah.
and like I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, it's again, just it just bothers me that the brands are not seeing value in these guys. I mean, he's a stylish guy; he's all about fashion. I just don't know.
Mm.
Maybe he's turning down deals. Maybe I don't know, but Yeah, I wish that the brands would
Maybe,
have the same priority on footballers that they do on other sports.
yeah, maybe there's an opportunity, Mike, to be fair, I mean, it's something that I've never really put a lot of focus into because I know there's a lot of negative connotation towards that. So for myself, it's more dealing with the rights holders and then individual players, but possibly something to look into as well. I mean, there's definitely brands that require that. But yeah, I do think brands have been burnt in the past. I really do.
Yeah. And then touching on the social media stuff, where are you finding it now with players? Obviously, back in our day, it was almost like frowned upon. I say our day like I'm not playing anymore, but back in 10 years ago, like if you were on
Yeah.
social media or posting on Twitter or whatever it was, like it was frowned upon. It was like stick to your job, don't do that stuff. And now all of a sudden, it's like if you are an athlete, it's like a responsibility almost to have social media. That massive shift.
No, it's been an interesting progression, right? Like you say, for us, it wasn't really a thing. Well, for me, you're still playing, but for me, it wasn't really a thing back in the day. But even now, this is all social media based, right? You're building this beautiful platform through social media, so it just shows the progression, and you actually see, which is in my game more. If you look at the Football World Cup, you look at the different sponsors of the past 3 or 4 World Cup. All the sponsors now, the World Cup are digital, right? So where
Yeah.
before it was the old like McDonald's and blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah. Now it's like
Yeah.
TikTok and Airbnb, Spotify, or whatever. So yeah, we're living in a digital age. It's important players know how to use it properly or do it properly because you see some disasters out there. And I think yeah, and I think that could maybe answer your question in terms of why a lot of sponsors haven't gone towards footballers. Maybe it's the social media, or maybe it's just not done correctly. Um,
Yeah.
uh, it's footballers are wired a bit different. They a lot of them don't want help, so you offer help, but they just don't want help, and that is what it is. We can talk about their
Yeah.
finances as well if you want to, and that's just it's disastrous. The statistics of players when they retire and how long they've got to live financially post-retirement before they literally broke. It's scary. It's
Yeah.
absolutely scary. But I do feel that needs to start at the PSL, not necessarily with the agent or the club. I do think there needs to be a saving plan from the PSL that filters down into the teams. That's why we see players like Hans Vonk and Koen van der Laak that never have to work a day again in their life because for every 70 cents they earned over £1 they earned overseas, 70 cents or 30 cents was put in a sort of little retirement fund, which they can access at 36 and 37, which pays out as an annuity income. That needs to happen, yeah. But for some reason, we don't want to empower our players. We've got no say, and that'll never change, unfortunately.
Yeah, I remember you coming around to all the clubs not too long ago, actually, trying to get this kind of
Yeah,
thing over the line. And it always made sense. Obviously, I mean, a lot of things make sense, but why, like, but again, obviously in rugby and cricket, it's a different setup. You're dealing with one
correct.
federation, you're dealing with SARU, or you're dealing with the cricket, whatever the cricket board's called. And like when
Yeah,
it's with you got 16 private companies here now, you're trying to get this over the line
yeah,
with 16 private companies. It's a whole different
yeah.
conversation.
Sure, but also the players' union works on those other two rights holders, right? So
Yeah,
that's where we're lacking. It's everything sort of goes through the players' union with cricket and rugby, where South Africa, unfortunately, yeah, we've chatted about it there. There's not much of a presence of them, I guess,
yeah.
and the players suffer.
Yeah, I mean,
That
I
that's
remember
that's
when
the
there
problem.
was a story that when Anele, obviously rest in peace, Anele Ngonga came back from Belgium. They said he had something like 30 million rand or something in his like Belgian retirement account or something from like all the money that basically they'd matched him when he was saving or that sort of thing. Like that's the kind of money the wealth these guys accrue when they were playing in Europe.
Yeah, it's amazing, eh? That's amazing. Yeah, but it's and there's some guys earning big ammo here, Mike. As you know, there's some guys earning some proper salaries here. And
Yeah,
I hope they're looking after it. I hope they're getting good advice or the right advice.
yeah. Okay, Sean, I don't want to keep you on for too long, so we'll touch on a tiny bit of your football career maybe before I leave you, and then a couple quick fire questions. It's always enjoyable to do. But the one thing
Sure.
that I've recently heard, and I think you've been tagged in it about a million times now, was Roger de Sa's interview where he speaks about Alex Ferguson talking about you as a goalkeeper, as the only South African goalkeeper he had recognized or that he rated. Had you heard about that
Correct.
before he spoke about it?
No, n never, never. Actually, I was driving, just parked the car in the driveway, and someone sent me this, and I looked at this, and I was just like, that is just unbelievable, crazy. And then all of a sudden, all my mates start sending it. Obviously, I send it to my family overseas, and yeah, it was what's the word?
Yeah,
It's always nice to be
they could have told
reminded.
you that 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, that was 20 years ago, I think. Jeez. Um, but yeah, it's always nice to be reminded and recognized, and a little stroke of the ego. It's nice to be seen, Mike.
Yeah. Um,
But yeah, it was
so
great.
you were there. You were there in the peak of sort of the old Ajax Cape Town, as it was, the team that should have won the league. You were there, I'm assuming.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. What do you that team? Honestly, one of the best teams I played against in my career in South Africa. Who were the standout guys for you? For me, I always say that Serrero was the one of the best players I've ever played with and against.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean it's a good question. I mean, each player yeah, and it's beautiful that you say that. It really was a great squad. It started with Craig Rosley who left, and then was it Fopper? I think Fopper de Haan sort of
yeah.
took it over, and then we just went to the next level. But yeah, I mean, one of the best players I've ever played with, whether it's local or overseas, was, I mean, you don't get better than Tato Mokeke when he's on form. And when he just joined, right foot, left foot, not the biggest guy, but just so composed,
But
always
he
in
was playing centre
control.
back at that stage for you guys, eh?
Yeah, left-sided centre
Yeah.
back. Eduardo Ferreira on the right, who was a nut job, but quality. Tulani Hlatshwayo. We had Shaba, we had Nazir Ali, we had Brett
Scotty.
Evans. I mean, Scotty. Yeah, it was, and we were such good mates off the field as well. Like everyone was
Yeah.
just one big happy family.
The Kings
Um,
of Cubana.
the Kings of Cubana in Greenpoint, that was us. But yeah, we had some great. Yeah, Serrero, obviously. I'm trying to think who was up front. Nathan Paulson was there.
TSCBC was there at a stage. I can't think who else was playing up front.
Yes, yes. Um,
Yeah, I
good
can't
Lord,
remember.
Uh, we
Yeah,
must have had a
getting
couple
too
of
old,
gold
man.
machines there. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was great, eh? It was and it all came down to the last game, from what I remember. And I think Hans unfortunately had that horrible error. He had a great season, and
Yeah.
um, and we lost it. Yeah, jeez,
Yeah,
and
I
we should
always
have won it.
remember
We're
the
the
guy
we're the
telling
best
me
team.
about the big party they had planned at Cubana. They had booked out the VIP. They were ready to go.
Yeah, yeah, shame, man. John Comisia, he hates a good time as well, John. So, it was yeah, no, it was brutal, hey. But again, um, you got to be proud of the guys. I mean, to come second in that league with playing against some big teams, some big players. I think we reached the semis of the MTN as well. Um, yeah, it was a great season, eh? It was a really, really good
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. So you speak about the highlights. Obviously now post retirement, and this is something that I've been speaking to a lot of guys about. How did you eventually decide to hang it up? When did you know it was time to call it a day?
Yeah, I obviously retired very early. I was 31 as a goalkeeper. That's super early, sort of at the
Yeah, it's a
peak. And I
baby.
was playing, yeah, and I was so I had a fallout with Mushin at Ajax at the time. We all cool now, so that's not a problem. And then I went on loan to Chippa United. They were in the first division, and to help them get promoted. And I said to my wife, I'm just fed up with this cuck, just fed up with this drama and blah blah blah. So I went to Chippa, did not give one shit, didn't care, and it was the best football I ever played.
Yeah.
It was just, it's just such a metaphor for life, but it's so easy to do or to say than to do. I didn't care. I think I played 15 games, conceded like four or something stupid like that, and it was amazing. We won the league. We cruised it. Um, So yeah, it was a bit of a it was a damper, but I just knew that I wasn't enjoying the game anymore. I love the game, but I wasn't enjoying it. And we decided before the kids came, let's travel for a few years, which we did. We traveled the world. We saw 28 countries together, and which was, and if I carried on playing, that wouldn't have been able to happen, and maybe I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I trust the universe that this is exactly where we're supposed to be right now, and yeah, I couldn't be happier. But
Yeah,
yes, it's that transition is very, very difficult.
yeah. I mean, so what are the kind of things you had to deal with when you hung up the boots? Because obviously these are things I'm having to deal with, and I think my wife's quite concerned, obviously as well. On the day that I hang my boots, like, what's the drive going to be? Where am I going to keep like? Where am I going to get an adrenaline rush from? That kind of
Mm.
thing. Yeah. So like, what are the kind of
Yeah,
things you
it's
deal
it's
with mentally?
look, like I said earlier on, and it's no joke. Business wise, it was only last year that I've found a flow, and that was 9 years out of retirement. Like, and now I'm actually only starting to really, really find a flow. I think the biggest thing is what I struggled with the loss of identity, or you feel the loss of identity. I always felt that, oh, it was Sean the soccer player instead of, oh, it's my mate Sean. So it's all this whole internal stuff you've got to deal with. Um, Obviously, the being around 30 guys every day, talking cuck, going towards one goal together, that is absolutely priceless. You can't substitute that. And you spend more time with them than your family sometimes, so they become your family. You get used to traveling. I loved hotels. I love being away and just, so, and the biggest thing, Mike, to be fair, is that as a footballer, we're spoilt, right? We get to training on a Monday. You get given this piece of paper to say, this is where you will be. You will be fed. Your boots will be polished. You'll get into a bus. You will sleep. And once all that stops, you don't get fed. You don't get on a bus. You don't get paid to keep fit. Um, and it can be a very dark and lonely place if it's not managed correctly. So but it can be a seamless process if you follow certain steps, I would imagine. But it's not easy, and I don't know what your plan is post football, besides obviously this cool platform you've got. But it's also important to leverage the network that we've built over the years in sports. And I think that's what's, when I stopped playing the game, I absolutely hated it. I didn't watch anything. I didn't contact anyone. But 3 years later, I was like, it's so stupid. I've built up this amazing network over the past 20 years playing. I need to leverage this, and this is exactly what I've done.
Yeah, that's been actually the best part of starting up this channel is like reconnecting with like all my old mates. Like that was one of the
Yeah,
main inspirations behind doing this is like as much as this is conversations for everyone else to hear and like information I feel other people want to hear, but this for me
yeah,
as much as just like catching up with old mates and telling old stories. Like there's because I'm actually really bad at that and keeping touch with like all my old mates. Like I'm just not great with that kind of thing. So this is like giving me the
yeah,
perfect opportunity just to like reconnect with guys, like recount memories, and build
100%.
that network, keep that network.
Yeah, it's important, and it keeps you in the game as well. Hey, like I don't know how long you got left, but it's like I say, the game's given me a lot, and it was stupid just to throw it away. So I'm glad I sort of reconnected with it and some good old faces and some mates and doing cool interviews or podcasts like this. It's important.
Yeah. Whatever happened to the car wash? You guys did it. You guys had something really cool going with the car wash, the platform that you guys were building.
we yeah, we had an amazing thing going. We obviously COVID played a massive role in it in terms of so yeah, it's myself and Teko. We were on the Soccer Laduma platform or the SNL 24, whatever it's called now. Um, and yeah, we just about landed Heineken as a sponsor. We're on our 99th episode, and then Teko just didn't pick up his phone. That's it. Don't
Oh
know.
wow.
Don't know why. I still haven't spoken to him since. It was I don't know if he got a better offer, which is fine, which is all good. Just pick up the phone and let us know. But unfortunately, he just disappeared on us, eh? And we had a lot of fun with it. It was the biggest. It was definitely the highest. What's the correct word English here? It was had the most downloads as a podcast in Africa, a sports podcast for a good 18 months. And
That's incredible.
unfortunately, it just it was great. But yeah, we both sacrificed a lot. 99 episodes doing it from goodwill. And we were just about to land Heineken as a sponsor, and then everything just went quiet, unfortunately. But again, it's
Wow.
meant to be what it is.
I
He's
feel like
doing very
you
well
guys
now,
had like,
Supersport.
yeah, you guys had first mover advantage as well. I mean, I think like this is not every guy and his dog has got a podcast, but
Yeah,
you guys were early.
yeah, we're ahead of the game, and teaming up with Clint Roper and the guys at Soccer Dumo, they're so forward thinking, and such a good bunch of guys. They gave us that platform. They gave us a little office, even in their office. It was cool. It was great. It was a weekly show, and obviously Teko knows the game backwards. I mean, you can't even. He just knows the players. He
Yeah,
knows everything, and he was excellent. He really carried the show. So I would sort of um, do what you're doing now, I guess, and sort of anchor it and ask the right questions and let Teko go on a tangent for a couple of minutes and then bring him back, and then. But it was great while it lasted. It's another little tick in the little black book that I've done, and no regrets, man. Just sad it didn't continue a bit longer.
yeah, man. Jeez, I would be very interested to see how big it would be now if you guys had stuck at it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Sam. Yeah, it's a bit sad, but
Yeah,
not meant to be, Mike. Unfortunately.
yeah. Yeah, no worries, man. So then just to finish it up, Shauna, some quick fire stuff. If you want to expand on anything cool, otherwise, one word answers, good to go, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sweet.
Cool, mate. The best goalkeeper that you saw in the PSL era.
Um, that's a good question. I think, yeah, it's. I love Ronwin now. I just think he's Mr. Cool Cat. I think he's world class. I think if he was slightly taller, he could play anywhere in the world. That's my honest opinion. I think as a professional, I don't think anyone would ever come close to Andre Arendse and how professional he was, and how much he taught me when I was at Sundowns when we won the league in 2005. Just to be in his presence, he was my roommate for the whole 12 months. It was, yeah, big match temperament on the next on a different level altogether. But yeah, as a professional, without a doubt, Andre, and you can see now how he carries it into his coaching. I think as a goalkeeper, yeah, Ronwin was very, very special. We could say Cunha was just something out of the extraordinary back in the day with his distribution and stuff. I think Ronwin's an all-round better keeper, besides me,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah, I know that. Yeah, the goat. Um, if you had to create your perfect back four of guys that you've played with,
uh, I think I think Tato Mokeke for sure. I think Nassif Morris next to him, without a doubt. Um, wow, that's a good question. Left back. I like Brett Evans. I liked him a lot. He was an out and out left back. He was difficult to manage as a human, but he was. I mean, how many players? How many game? How many games did he play for Ajax?
yeah,
He was
you also had a
Ajax.
goal in
Yeah,
him as well from set pieces as well. So you give him
yeah. He had
extra
a
credit.
fantastic left foot. The ultimate professional. The worst loser you've ever come across in your life, which was great as a captain. Right back. Nazir Ali was top class, as well.
Still is.
Um, yeah, geez, yeah, he's still going, eh?
Yeah, still with me.
He's still going. He's still
Yeah.
going. Jeez, you guys are getting old. You guys are getting old. Good Lord.
Ziri turns 40
Um,
soon, man.
no ways.
Yeah, he turns 40 soon. The man still is running past kids in preseason, man. Machine.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I think, I think Nazir and even Tulani, when he played on the right, he was very, very good, very
Yeah.
consistent. Trying to think of the Sundowns guys. David Cannemare was great when he had his head screwed on as a left back. Yeah, no, there's been a few, but definitely the front two without a doubt was with Tato on the left and Nassif. Nassif was world class as well. Obviously
Yeah.
played all over
You're
the
looking at
world.
too many issues.
Yes, yeah, what a player.
Yeah. So you came across as a bit of a prankster, and I've heard some good things. The best prank you've ever seen in a football dressing room, because it all goes down in a dressing room.
Jeez, yeah, I'm trying to think. There's been plenty. I just can't think offhand of one. Uh, oh, what happened there? Someone brought this. There was definitely a snake story in the Ajax thing. I'm trying to think what happened. Was it Andre Petzem? He brought a rubber snake, and I think it was Shaba. That yeah, man, it was the funniest thing. Shaba didn't think it was funny, but yeah, I think Andre brought a rubber snake and put it in the lock, and then Shaba opened it, and all hell broke loose. But it was this little rubber bloody thing, man. Jesus, it was absolutely hilarious. But there's been plenty. If a couple of questions come, I'll think of a couple more. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was hilarious.
Um, do you have the best save you ever made? Can you remember one save that like really sticks in your mind?
Yeah, the we played Chiefs at home at Cape Town Stadium, the second leg of the semi-final of the MTN Top Eight. Is it called Top Eight? Yeah, it's called Top Eight.
Yeah.
And it was 1-1, or we're 2-1 up. And ball came across. I think Justin Ladler was in the back post, and he headed it. I mean, it should have gone in, and for somehow I just got a. It was literally last kick of the game, and then got a finger to it, hit the bar, and then went out. And yeah, that was just in terms of the timing, positioning, winning the game. I think we actually was it 1-1. We actually lost in away goals, I think. But yeah, that was definitely without doubt one of the better saves. And I got a man of the match
Yeah.
as
Then
well.
as a goalkeeper, as much as you have some good moments, I'm pretty sure you have that one mistake or one error that
Jeez.
really has never left you.
Yeah, there's been a couple. Um, uh, Bloom Celtic away. I hated playing in Bloom for some reason. I don't know why. And I also hated playing in Durban for some reason. I don't know why. But Bloom Celtic away, um, it was comical to say the least. But long ball over, keeper slip on my
Oh
back,
no.
ball just bounce and just goes in. We lost 2-1, ridiculous. And I remember when I was at Sheffield Wednesday, we played against was it Bradford? We were 3-0 up and we lost 4-3. It was just yeah, one of those games. It was horrific. So yeah, those are the lows I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's part of the game, eh?
Yeah. This seems like a question you'll definitely be able to answer. Three teammates for a night out.
Eduardo Ferreira, without a doubt.
First on the list.
Um, yeah, Craig Bianchi. Craigie was a very, yeah, just such a good, very underrated player as well. And George Moneleka.
Okay.
Yeah,
What about it?
that would
What
be a good night.
about Eduardo made him first on the list?
Say that again, sorry.
What was it about Eduardo that would make him first on the night out?
I think when I arrived at Ajax, you had this loud, in your face Brazilian. All the chicks were all over him all the time. I don't know how he did it, but he just pulled the absolute belters all the time. Uh, and he was a very good player as well. Like he was extremely good player, good trainer, but he loved a party. He loved a good time. He loved the life in Cape Town. He loved them being around the models. So you went out with Eduardo, you're guaranteed to have a good time.
Uh, Epic. Did you have any superstitions while you were playing?
I still do. I always put. I'm left-footed, so I always put my left foot. I always put my left shoe on first. I would never stand as I would walk onto the field. I always wouldn't stand on the line for some reason. Don't know why. Um, but nothing too crazy. I was a very bad sleeper before a game as well. I could never sleep, which was very frustrating.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, nothing too dramatic.
Yeah.
I know a lot of
The
guys are very
worst injury.
superstitious.
Yeah. Yeah. The worst injury you have ever got in your career.
Yeah, that's easy, eh? I mean, um, just signed for Ajax 2008. I had a great 6 months, first 6 months, and I got patella tendonitis in both of my knees.
Oh, it's the
And
worst.
yeah, and I had to go for an op, double, had actually had a double knee op and a hernia op at the same time. I was out for 11 months. They couldn't get me right. I was out for another year. Eventually got me right. Came back, first day of training, broke my hand. And I was out for another 8 weeks. It was like just so demoralizing. They wanted to pay me out to Ajax. Actually, they wanted to say, listen, we can't carry on paying you. And they were very good, actually, carry on paying me. But so I had to get rehab for myself for like 6 weeks. I had to pay for it, and then came back. And then 4 weeks later, I got a Bafana call up. So and they wanted to release me. It's just
Oh, if that's
had
not a
this,
story
yeah,
to illustrate the ups and downs of football, I don't know what is, man.
yeah, exactly, man. I just knew I had to prove it to myself, I guess, not to them, but more to myself that I was capable of coming back and playing. And during that spell, that comeback was where I made that save against Chiefs.
Yeah, that's epic.
I think it was 2012 actually.
The last two questions. Do you do you remember what you earned your first football contract?
Um, yeah, the first professional contract um, was that like it was with Sheffield Wednesday because I don't think I signed pro adverts before I went overseas. Um, it was small. It was a 200-300 pounds a week. But then I broke into the first team, and then obviously you get your appearance fees, and you're on the bench, and you're winning. So that just like
Yeah,
exponentially got bigger. But yeah, it was about 200 or 300 pounds a week, and then I came back, and which I should never have come back. I should have stayed in England, to be fair. But yeah, and then signed for Sundowns and back at Wits, and then Ajax and
yeah.
progressed from there.
Do
Yeah.
you remember your first big purchase? Because we all did the most ridiculous, stupid things with our first couple paychecks. Do you remember
Yeah, I
anything
think.
that?
Yeah, I mean, I bought this beautiful Golf 5 GTI. It was a white one. And when I was at, when I
Oh,
was
mate,
at
you were
Ajax.
definitely destined to be a South African to come back to South Africa and
Yeah,
play. Yeah,
but it was my baby. I'd clean it every day. It was just my spoil to say well done. It wasn't a stupid purchase. It was just could have you saved more out of your monthly income? Yes, of course, absolutely. Looking back now, but you're young, you're dumb, you're living in Cape Town. I was still single those times, so it was it was the right thing to do, I thought.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, that's epic.
Uh,
Sean, this has been a great, great catch up, mate. Thank you so much for the time and for
Thanks,
the
Mike.
great chat. I've enjoyed it, mate.
I
We should
appreciate you,
stay in
bro, and
touch.
good luck with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.